Welcome to Fear No Evil. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Now, the evil that I'm speaking about is child sexual abuse as well as any kind of sexual violation if you are a woman. There are so many people who have been accused right now, but we're not seeing the full picture or all the stories because I'm more aware of sexual violations, and I'm not going to fall into the trap that they only occur between men and women, because that's not true. And I'm not going to fall into the trap of trying to be someone in the public arena that's going to let somebody off or accuse somebody else. We have a legal process that things need to go through. And I find it very interesting that when you're talking about child sexual abuse or any kind of sexual violation, there's a lot of emotions. But how real are these emotions when America is number 5 on the list of countries with the most child sexual abuse allegations? And those numbers are just the numbers of those who report it. And as the statistics show, for every one case that is reported, 2 more are not reported. And we have no clue in the world. We have no clue. Really, we have no clue globally how many sexual abuse survivors are out there. Nor do people understand that any sexual violation sits under an umbrella. And that umbrella begins with child sexual abuse. Now, it's easier for us to talk about the sexual violations against women in the workplace. That's easy. It's not easy for the child to talk about it. It's not easy for the child to come forward. And I love how the news media just kind of gloss over the pedophilia charges. I don't know if they're true with Roy Moore. I have no clue. We don't get to hear the women. I find it very interesting that their approach to all of this, they are actually using the characteristics of child sexual abuse and applying them to the women who have been sexually violated in the workplace. They are 2 totally different situations, completely. And the damage that is done is completely different. And the things that happen in our society because of child sexual abuse is completely different. So the fact that we got news anchors just glossing over the pedophilia, running on to the sexual abuse, harassment allegations, because that's what's easy to talk about. This subject isn't easy to talk about. And in fact, for many years, I didn't talk about it. And the one thing I don't talk about is specifically what happened to me during the abuse. That's why I'm not sitting in a counselor's office and telling anybody what exactly happened, because it's nobody's business. And since I never got the opportunity to have my case heard in a courtroom because of the statute of limitations, that's the only place probably where I would say exactly what happened. Let me tell you, you could tell really if someone's been sexually abused by what they say. Because there are certain mannerisms and certain things that people will do when it comes to talking about this. And when you're actually talking about specific allegations, most children are not specific. They either don't have the words, or it just brings up a whole lot of feelings when you specifically have to talk about it. Now, I remember today what happened, but I didn't always have those memories. I had one memory that I would hold on to. And it took me years to realize that I had a whole lot of memories tucked away, repressed. And there were a whole lot of manifestations that took me a long time to realize that they were connected to the child sexual abuse that I had suffered. And I'm sure it's probably the same with rape victims, because I have heard the testimony of rape victims, and the testimony of rape victims are not even the same for the testimonies of women who are in the workplace being harassed. Because the women that they're showing out right now are high-powered women. They had families that supported them. They went to college. They have these high-paying jobs. They are the minority of what really happens to people in society when they are victimized in any way sexually. They really don't represent my experience. These women on the cover don't represent my experience. Ashley Judd definitely doesn't represent me in any way because she's a bitter woman. And that bitterness comes from her own childhood sexual abuse. See how it's connected? And then she ended up in another situation where she was abused. See how it's connected? She had a history of child sexual abuse. I've heard interviews with her sister. I've heard interviews with her mother. And Ashley has more bitterness than her sister. And even in the bitterness that her sister had, she was able to understand that she had bitterness. So I find her sister to be a lot warmer person. And not Ashley. I would never want to meet Ashley. It has nothing to do with President Trump. What it has to do, it does the disgusting things that she spoke about as he was inaugurated was just disgusting to me. Cheese in your blood? And I was supposed to listen to her now? I don't think so. That's just disgusting to me. America needs to get serious because we are number 5 on the list of the most childhood sexual abuse allegations. Ronald Reagan said there is no more fundamental test of a society than how it treats its children. And we are at a test right now. And how we treat the subject is the test. I get a lot of pushback when I'm talking about child sexual abuse. It doesn't matter if I'm on the internet, church, work, doesn't matter. Not looking for anybody's sympathy. Because actually, sympathy is the worst thing you can do for a sexual abuse survivor. You got to be a little tough with us. Because if you don't, we'll sit right in it. And we can't. We have to move through the valley of the shadow of death. And we are going to move through that valley more than once. But now I'm able to come down into that valley and reach my hand out to other survivors and say, come on. You can do this. Keep going. Even if you're crawling. You think we walk through this stuff? We crawl through this stuff. And many people die in the valley. That valley of the shadow of death of child sexual abuse has a lot of dead bones in there. And that's why I push back with the LGBT. Because I know that in the LGBT they have sexual abuse survivors. And when they talk about the suicide rate, we don't know, or I don't know if you're committing suicide because of the same-sex feelings or if you're committing suicide because you've been sexually abused. And when that information is hidden, it's not helping us who have been really sexually abused. So that's why you get the pushback. But then you want to tell me it's hate speech. It's not hate speech to me. I'm a sexual abuse survivor. I am not going to dictate to any sexual abuse survivor how to get through their healing. I hope in the end you get to God, but I'm not the one that's going to push you there because I understand. I understand the anger that someone can have at a concept of a God that would allow childhood sexual abuse to occur. And that concept or that incorrect notion that he allowed it to go on and he wasn't there for us. That's not true, and I will do a video on that. So I do speak out, and it's not easy to speak out. This subject brings out a lot of emotions in people who haven't even been abused. Can you imagine what it does to those who have been abused? And we're sitting in society right now, and we got to listen to all of this? The misinformation, the political arena. And I don't believe all the women. I believe some of them, but I don't believe them all. And so the ones that are there with these accusations that may not be true, the damage that you are doing is unbelievable. The damage that people are doing who don't understand this topic is unbelievable. And the fact that we just want to talk about women and men is not the full face or the truth when it comes to child sexual abuse or sexual violations against women or rape. Right there are 3 different categories. And that's not even all the abuse that happens. You have to deal with each one separately because that's the way it goes. So I will speak out. And I will continue to speak out. And I will deal with the pushback because it's important to speak out. Be blessed, survivors, and just keep on going.